How are you, Raiders family? It's David Burke here, or Bourkeys as many of you might know me, and welcome to my 2019 season preview of the mighty Canberra Raiders. For those of you who don't know me, or the first time in joining the program, I write a weekly blog as well as podcast on each of the Raiders games to give you an insight in plays or players from our side and the opposition, and where I think they'll impact each of our games in 2019. So it's really great to have you here, and thank you for your support. Look, that was a really long pre-season, I must admit, and I got particularly emotional, which I'll come to later on, after watching the Roosters Rabbitohs qualifying grand final clash, knowing we'd beaten both of these sides before the year ended last year. So I'll cover more of that later on, but once the season ended, and you're thinking 5 months before it starts, and if you can believe it, we're only 3 days away, or less than 3 days now. Actually, we'll be on the field at the Gold Coast. I'll be there wearing the mighty Raiders shirt, and I'm sure we'll have some fantastic support down at Seabus Stadium on Sunday afternoon, guys. So let's get it on, and let's look forward to your support there on Sunday. Hope to catch up with you all to say hello, and can't wait to see some old faces. So look, my podcast and the preview and what I do through the year, there's going to be things you agree with and don't, and also disagree with. So please feel free to share your comments. It's most important to making the podcast and the blog a success. You can get me on Facebook at Bourkeys Top 10 or at Twitter at Bourkey Top 10, no S. So at Bourkeys Top 10 Facebook page and at Bourkey Top 10. I'll put some links in the notes at the end of the show. So look, let's look at the top 10 preview for this year. I could have written 20 things, or spoken about 20 things, but I had to try and narrow it down to 10, and it was a tough gig. I've been dwelling and mulling about this for a couple of weeks. So look, here goes. In no particular order, the first one I want to talk about is Joe Tarpany. Now, as Dan said, and Rob in their fantastic at Sportress blog, they always write really great columns, so get on them if you haven't seen their stuff before at the Sportress. They made a really good point about Joe Tarpany, how he could quite possibly be the best edge runner in the world this year, and I totally agree. When you've got a 6'2", 6'3" edge runner with footwork, most importantly, who can run 111, 11.5, you've got a real impact weapon for us on that right edge. Now, Ricky eased him in last year, rightly so, but I think now he's consistently makes the New Zealand side. I think he's going to really become a long-term leader of our pack. So I'm most looking forward to him being a real weapon on that right edge with BJ. The big thing with Joe that I want to see this year compared to last year, he did miss 8 games or 7 games through injury and suspension. So obviously injuries are unavoidable, but suspensions aren't, and that's a discipline thing Joe's just got to be careful of, because it does impact the whole team. If he's out of that right edge, then Ricky's got to maybe swing Elliott there or bring Sia into that right edge. It has a ripple effect going out, so we need Joe on the field. What I want to see him do is more offloads. I think with his size and frame, if he can develop an offload consistently, it's just going to give us that second phase, third phase attack, which really helps our momentum with our broken field runners, particularly Jordan when he comes back, Hodjo out of dummy half, and those types of players who are really good on their feet. But Joe, we need you on the field. The other thing Joe's got to be careful, not be careful of what he's really got to get into his game, is when he gets that ball, each time he's got to eyeball BJ's centre opponent. Don't worry about what's happening inside. They've got to make the play to him. But if Joe can all the time try and eyeball BJ's centre opponent to bring him in for a tackle, that's when he can get that offload away. And that's going to be really, really dangerous, but a big impact for us and our try and scoring ability. The other critical aspect with Joe on the edge, Aiden's got to be really careful that he doesn't give him the ball in that 10-metre tram. He's going to run out of room. So Joe needs the ball 3 to 4 metres inside that 10-metre tram to give him some time and space to move to the outside and give BJ some room to do his stuff as well. But I'm really looking forward to Joe Tarpany on that right edge this year. I think he's going to be an absolute weapon for us and will win us a lot of games. So talking about BJ, I've got BJ number 2. As I said, no particular order. Look, he's so enigmatic, and for some reason, a lot of our supporters just talk down him all the time. Now, in my opinion, his discipline and him giving away so-called stupid penalties has improved remarkably from 2016-2017. I must say in 2018, I very, very rarely saw him do consistently stupid things in relation to ill discipline and mistakes. I must admit that, without a doubt, he was our best metre gainer getting out of our end in 2018, bar any of our backs and some of our forwards. Some of his carries were mammoth in relation to getting us forward on that front foot. Now, what I'm planning to see with Joe and BJ is them doing a lot of work together. With Jordan Rapana out for the first 6 to 8 weeks, our usual modus operandi was quick ball to Aiden, then a quick ball to BJ and Jordan, and let them do their stuff out wide. With Jordan missing for 6 to 8, I'm expecting Tarpany and BJ to do a lot of work together. Aiden Caesar as well, I'll come to him next. But those three, I think, are going to be a main linchpin on that right edge for us. I don't expect the ball to go too wide, but I expect Caesar, Tarpany and BJ to keep it quite tight and do a lot of moves, second man plays, inside balls with those three until we get Jordan Rapana back onto that wing in hopefully round 8, fingers crossed. So that's my feeling about BJ. I think he is going to be our back leader this year. I just feel he's primed for a really, really big year. I thought he had a great year last year, but I'm looking forward to some bigger and better things from him in 2019, especially having Joe on the inside. And once Parner gets back into action, looking forward to that immensely. So I want to talk about Aiden. Now, last year, Aiden spoke a lot about leading the team around. I personally thought he could have delivered a little bit more. We just need him consistently to lead the side. He can't lead us for one game, then fall back for 3 or 4, then lead us for 2 and fall back for 5. The really great halves, the Cronks, the Thurstons, those types of guys consistently lead their side around the park each and every week. That's where Aiden's got to step up. Yes, he's spoken about it, but we need that spoken word now in action to lead us around. We need him glued and we need him zoned, because with no Osto and a new 5'8" and Sam not there, the pressure's really on Aiden to deliver this year, particularly with some of the potential signings coming in 2020. I think he can do it, don't get me wrong, but I just think he's got to be just really zoned to make sure that from the first minute to the 80th minute, he's the one leading, he's the one calling the shots, and when he wants the ball, he gets the ball. And he's got to make sure that his voice carries and he gets what he wants as quickly as possible. Number 4, I've gone for John Bateman. Now, a lot's been spoken about John. I haven't seen a lot of his highlights on YouTube. I will manage to have a look between now and Sunday. But look, peeps, I just want us to be a bit patient with John. I'm sure he's a fantastic second rower, but coming from Winter Super League in England to Australian conditions in the NRL, it's a massive jump. I mean, the warmest thing they have in Super League at half-time is a cup of tea. He's come into high 20s, early 30s in a lot of those first 4 or 5 games. Titans away, Cowboys away. So we just need to be patient. I'm sure he's going to perform. He's got the absolute pedigree to perform. But I just want us to be a bit patient with him. All John has to do the first 3 or 4 weeks is settle into our game plan. Doesn't need to make or push the big play. He's just got to settle into our game plan and just get a feel for the players around him. He hasn't struck a match yet. He hasn't even played a trial. So we just, as I said, just need to be a bit patient. I'm absolutely certain as the year goes on, though, he's going to deliver. The guy looks like a footballer, not scared of anyone, will take anyone on, and they're the sort of guys that we love, and I think he'll play 80 minutes. He may not for the first couple of weeks, as I said, until he gets his match legs under him. Training's totally different to match against people, as you probably know. But we just need to give him a little bit of time just to find his feet. But very excited to have him in a Green Machine jersey and can't wait till he does his stuff for us. Number 5, I've gone for the blueprint to winning. Now, I mentioned South and the Roosters earlier at the start. What was most impressive last year was those 2 consecutive weeks, I think rounds 22 and 23, when we played the Roosters and the Rabbits at home and beat them quite convincingly. Even though the scoreline wasn't massive, we had it all over both. So we had it all over both those sides. The key to it was we played a very basic, simplistic game plan to beat them. We did nothing flash. We let them try and make the plays, and we countered with our own plays without trying to push a lot of the stuff. So if Ricky's looking for a game plan or a blueprint, to win us our games. They're the two games he should be playing. Like, they're still fairly fresh. They're 5 or 6 months ago only. Most of those sides have the same players. We've got 5 or 6 new players, but the way we went about that blueprint to take those two sides down was fantastic. And if we're looking for something in 2019 to win games, we could look back at those two games as to how we beat both those sides. The next thing is the grind. Now, the grind is just a very simple word, people, on not doing anything stupid and keeping a very simplistic eye on how the game's unfolding. You see, rugby league's a simple game played by simple men, and that's what it is. But what we've got to do is just do those 1%ers correctly and 100% efficiently. Kick chase, up at marker before they get up to play the ball, keeping a straight line, talking. Very, very simplistic 1%ers. If each of the guys in the 17 increase their grind performance by 1% with those things I mentioned, plus many others, that's a 17% increase on our performance in each game. If each player can do those things an extra 1% more efficiently, that's a massive output that we're going to get from our team. So as I said, the grind last year, we did it occasionally. The Roosters and the Rabbits, with 2 occasions, we did it consistently, and it got us 2 wins. So as I said, it's not something you teach, it's not something you coach. It comes from the heart and it comes from your head about getting back, supporting your mate, and doing those small things 100% efficiently all the time. If we can do those things, we're going to be near the top for most of the year, because that's how these top sides perform. They just do those grinding 1%ers better than anyone, and that's how they win those close games. And we know how we go in close games, but I'm feeling this year's going to be different with our close game scenario. I want to move on to Elliott. Now, possibly once again, edging to one of the best back rowers in the world. I need him to play in the middle. He's got to act as the pimp for Josh Hodgson. He's got to do a lot of that mopping up work around the ruck, sort of like a Sean Fensom-like, where he can easily do a quick 2-3 tackles consistently and be there at marker. He's got to be Hodjo's pimp. What I mean by that, he's got to take a lot of defensive work off Hodjo and do not only his share of work, but Hodjo's share of work. So I'm very excited about Elliott. I think last year he was a fantastic performer for us and has been since he joined us in 2016. But yeah, him around the ruck, I'm very comfortable with him in that ruck area. I just think it gives us some really good momentum. And the good thing with Elliott, he's a fantastic line runner. Like, he can spot a gap in a defensive line really quick. And hit that hole. He may not get through, but he can easily drag in 2 or 3 defenders and get a quick play the ball for Hodjo to get some momentum. So I'm particularly impressed with his attack. He can play for 80 minutes, which is what we need from our ruck players as well. So look, I'm very, very happy with Elliott being in the middle. What I said at the start with Joe, that's where that ripple effect occurs. If Joe's out of business for 2 to 3 weeks, Ricky's got a decision to make. Does he move Elliott back to the edge or Sia? It just has a bit of disruptive influence. But if Elliott can be in or around that middle for 80 minutes, we're going to go a long way to winning a lot of our games this year. So let's go to the maestro, Hodjo. I mean, there's not much more that we Canberra supporters can say. We know how good he is. We know, when I feel by the end of this year, he will be the best hooker in the world, bar none, with Daylight second, maybe Damien Cook second. But what we've got to do and help Hodjo is when he goes out of dummy half with those runs, our attackers have to be flat with him. We can't be 2 or 3 yards behind the guy because he's going to get smashed. That's where he's at his most brilliant, is where we get a quick play of the ball. He's got an attacker to the left and an attacker to the right, and the defence holds off, and he can surge through, do his little grubber kick, his inside ball or whatever. But we've got to support him around that ruck. If we're not flat with him, he's going to get hammered, and our attack's going to lose its momentum very quickly, because he can't really afford to be tackled with the ball in any set of 6 set of tackles. He's got to be the one giving and making the play to a runner, to a second runner, to an inside man, but he can't be tackled with the ball in any set of 6 tackles. It's just going to stop or stunt our momentum for our next play the ball. But look, I love the bloke. I can't wait to see some of the magical tricks he'll do this year. The first 14 games last year we never had him, so it was a massive dagger in our heart before the season had started. But this year, a full pre-season under his belt, a couple of games for England, I think they may have had. They played New Zealand, so he's had a little bit of a longer a shorter off season than some of the other guys, but from what I've seen, he looks super fit. So super excited about watching him do his magic for us this year. So I want to go to the last one, which is Jack. Now, you'll hear me say a lot this year, and I apologise for the people that have known me for a long time, but for the newbies who are watching and hopefully hear me speak through the year and read my blogs and my podcast, my philosophy is you should never weaken a strength to strengthen a weakness. You should never weaken a strength to strengthen a weakness. Now, in my opinion, we're taking our best fullback from fullback, where his best position is, and putting him into 5'8". So I personally don't agree with the situation. I hope I eat humble pie quickly, that it's going to be a great move. But to me, it's still up in the air. He's only played 2 trials at 5'8". One trial at 5'8". So consistency is a big thing. I mean, Jack last year, before everything hit the fan, he was far and away our best player in those first 8 or 9 rounds, bar none. So once again, he's had a long time off, and putting him into one of the most important positions in the front line, which is 5'8". Once again, we're going to have to be really patient. My feeling is that Ricky's in a bit of a conundrum here, because he can't, if Jack doesn't perform in the first 2 games, he can't say suddenly, okay, Jack, you're back to fullback. I mean, if CKN is killing them at fullback, then what happens? So my feeling with Jack is that Ricky's got to give him at least 5 or 6 games, maybe 7 games as a 5'8", barring injury and suspension, to really see if this is going to work for us. Like, fingers crossed, I hope it does. I mean, the big thing that Jack does bring, without a doubt, his defence is second to none, but once again, he hasn't really played frontline defence for a long time. So fullback, you're on your own. Frontline defence, you've got to worry about the guy inside and the guy outside. Is the guy inside going to go up quickly? Is the guy outside going up too quick? Where am I going? So you've really got to make some split-second decisions very quickly. The big thing is fatigue. So Jack's going to be a lot tighter in that frontline defence than a fullback. And if he's fatigued and needs to make a quick decision, that's where he's really got to be switched on, making decisions under fatigue. Because at 5'8", he's going to be making 15, 20 tackles a game. It's a lot of defensive work that he has not been used to before. Plus, he's also now got to make the plays for his inside and outside players. I think Aiden will do a lot of that work for him, but Jack's going to have that situation where he needs to make the play as a 5'8" instead of being the play for a fullback. It's a bit of a difference. So he's just got to be really careful that he's now got to make the play for his outside men, instead of being the player coming in from fullback that's going to set up the try. Look, I'm on the fence with it, I must admit. I want him to succeed, of course I do. But once again, it's just one of those things, guys, we're going to have to be patient with, because it's not going to be all roses from day one. He's a work in progress, and being in the toughest comp in the world, 5'8's a very, very stressful position. But once again, he's just got to be simple with his game plan, do his defensive work, keep his line straight, and when he's got an attacking opportunity, just go with his gut instinct. So that's most important. Guys, the last one I've got is the first 5 games. Titans into Storm, into Knights, into the Cows, into the Eels. Now, we had sort of the same scenario last year, and I don't think we won a game. I think we were 1 from 5 or whatever. That there, and we've got Storm at home, Knights at home, Eels at home. So look, I'm sort of salivating a little bit, drip, that if we can get 4 or even all those 5, we're going to be set up beautifully for this year. Once again, we'll soon see on Sunday how good our pre-season's been with this new defensive structure and work we've done, the Jack situation at 5'8", the impact of Johnny Bateman and Ryan Sutton off the bench, CKN at fullback. So we've got a lot of new blood, a lot of new people circulating around the side for the first time. They lift you. It's not the same old. But once again, 5 new players. There's some positive with increased confidence, but there's also a little bit of a negative where they haven't really played with Papali before, they haven't really played with Aiden before. Emre hasn't had a full game with John Bateman. So there's those little things that are going to take time for players to gel once again under fatigue and how they play in match day situations. So guys, that's it for me. Hope you've enjoyed it. As I said, I'd love to see your comments on the Facebook page below. Hit me up on Twitter. My first pre-season top 10 for the Titans game podcast and blog will be out sometime Saturday. So get on it, give me your comments. As I said, like the Facebook page, guys, and I can't wait to interact with you over the next couple of weeks. Until next time, Raiders fam, it's Bourkey and I'm out. Bye for now.